In the limited time we have today, I can offer only the briefest introduction to the concepts of DNA as used by genealogists. I will focus on a few core ideas that will help you make sense of DNA test results. You have all seen images like this, which illustrates the human genome. Your autosomal DNA is present in nearly every cell of your body and consists of about 3 billion base pairs. Most of these are the same for every human being who ever lived or will live in the future. Genealogy DNA testing companies have focused on about 700,000 that are most relevant for genealogical research. You'll notice one pair at the bottom labeled X and Y. That's what determines if you're male or female. But we'll dive deeper into those special chromosomes in a future session. Imagine that your mother's autosomal DNA is represented by a deck of playing cards with red backs, as in this diagram, while your father's autosomal DNA is represented by a deck with blue backs. You were conceived when one of your father's sperm cells entered one of your mother's eggs. This is where the most amazing magic, miracle, or whatever you want to call it, occurs. Think of it like this. Each of those decks of cards is separately shuffled, and half of your mother's cards are randomly picked and combined with half of your father's randomly picked cards. The remaining cards are discarded. These selected cards are then shuffled together, and that combined deck represents your DNA, which will be in almost every cell of your body. Your parents don't just hand you a stack of their own father's or mother's cards. They literally cut and paste them together to create a brand new, unique set of cards for you. This explains why you aren't just a collection of 4 grandparents, but a unique mosaic. It is the blueprint that tells the cells as they divide where to make each cell the right component. A piece of you ankle bone, a bit of your eye, and so for every cell of your body. And as those cells die, how to make a replacement. How this is done, I have no idea, and I don't think anyone else does either. Biologically, you get exactly half your autosomal DNA from each parent. DNA test reports say approximately 50% because of how the tests measure and report the data, not because your inheritance was uneven. So if you get exactly half your DNA from each parent, why do DNA test results usually say about 50%? The simple answer is that these tests examine only about 700,000 selected markers called single nucleotide polymorphisms, SNP, because 99.9% of human DNA is identical in everyone. Scientists only look at these SNPs where humans are known to differ. It's like checking only the street names that change, rather than every single grain of sand on the road out of the 3 billion in your DNA. And many of those are filtered out. DNA is inherited in chunks, not evenly. So when only some locations are measured, the numbers don't come out perfectly. Small testing limits and statistical estimates add a little more variation. How much DNA do you share with your brother or sister? In this illustration, each fan of cards represents the DNA of you and your sibling. Both siblings received half of their DNA from the same mother, the red cards, and half from the same father, the blue cards. However, notice that the mix of red and blue cards is different in each fan. That's because each child inherits a different random selection from each parent. The decks were shuffled separately for each child. Because of this, full siblings usually share about 50% of their autosomal DNA, but not exactly the same 50%. In practice, siblings typically share somewhere between about 37% and 63%. In theory, 2 siblings could inherit exactly the same mix, sharing 100% of their DNA, or inherit completely different mixes, sharing 0%. But the probability of either of those extremes is infinitesimally small. In genetic genealogy, the purely theoretical situation of zero sharing between siblings is sometimes jokingly called the evil twin scenario. This has never actually been observed in human history. In reality, the lowest amount ever recorded for full siblings is still well above 33%. I have talked about how DNA is passed from parents to children and shared among siblings. The next key idea is what happens as we move further back in time through our family tree. With each generation, the amount of autosomal DNA you inherit from any one ancestor is cut roughly in half. You get about half from each parent, about a quarter from each grandparent, about an eighth from each great-grandparent, and so on. But here's the important point. While your family tree keeps doubling every generation, your DNA does not. DNA is passed down in chunks, and over time, many ancestors simply don't pass down any genealogically useful DNA at all. This means that although someone may be your real documented ancestor, you may share no detectable autosomal DNA with them, and therefore no DNA with many of their other descendants. This is perfectly normal and becomes increasingly common the further back you go. The same idea explains why you share less DNA with more distant cousins. You may share a noticeable amount with first cousins, a smaller amount with second cousins, and sometimes nothing at all with more distant cousins, even though you are genuinely related on paper. Eventually, you reach a point where DNA testing can no longer confirm every genealogical relationship. Not because the records are wrong, but because the DNA has simply not survived the random shuffling process over many generations. Another way to illustrate the loss of DNA from older generations is through these diagrams. Genealogically, your ancestors all existed. You may not be able to determine who some of them were, but they did exist. The second diagram illustrates those genetic ancestors, who again all existed. However, going back in time, there are some from whom you have no DNA. These are represented by the white areas. The further back you go, the more of these gaps will show up in each generation. Looking at another way, you will not share DNA with the descendants of those ancestors, distant cousins. This is why it is so important from a genealogical perspective that the oldest living members of a family have their DNA tested. They carry DNA that younger generations may never inherit. Once that generation is gone, that genetic information is gone forever. For most of you here today, you are that oldest generation. By testing your DNA, you are preserving a genetic record that can help children, grandchildren, and future genealogists confirm relationships, break through brick walls, and better understand where the family truly came from. Today, we have only touched on the part of DNA testing that is used by all of the major commercial testing companies, autosomal DNA. This type of DNA focuses on the 22 pairs of chromosomes found in the nucleus of nearly every cell in our bodies. And it is the most important and widely used DNA test for genealogical research. However, there is more to the story. We have not discussed the 23rd pair of chromosomes, which determines biological sex and involves the X and Y chromosomes. Nor have we explored mitochondrial DNA, which is smaller, inherited differently, and located outside the nucleus in the mitochondria of our cells. These additional types of DNA follow different inheritance patterns and can answer different kinds of genealogical questions. I plan to introduce them in future presentations.